It was the Prime Minister's first visit to Jammu and Kashmir since the Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor. And as expected, Prime Minister Modi ripped into Pakistan while he was inaugurating the Chenab Bridge project, a railway project that is now the highest such project in the world. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. The Prime Minister, holding the Tiranga in his hand, sending a message both metaphorically and verbally to Pakistan on his first trip to Jammu and Kashmir since the Pahalgam terror attack, as well as Operation Sindoor, the military operation, had strong words, fierce words in fact. He used the phrase Qayamat ki Raat. He referenced what had taken place 1 month ago and spoke about how Pakistan had been taught a lesson that they will not forget when it comes to the patronizing of terrorism. How do we look at the Prime Minister's comments that he's made from Jammu and Kashmir? These comments are coming at a time when there continues to be fierce debate around the diplomatic narrative and why India has had to learn a tough lesson that while our military has triumphed, our diplomacy has shown us that every country has been transactional and we will eventually have to fight this battle by ourselves. The Prime Minister's comments came on a day when Donald Trump, yet again, it's now so repetitive that it's almost boring. Donald Trump, yet again, from the White House, said he doesn't get credit for his role in the cessation of hostilities between India and Pakistan. India has fiercely rubbished any talk of mediation. Even opposition members of parliament like Manish Tiwari, speaking on this platform yesterday, Manish has been a part of these cross-party delegations that have traveled around the world, said Donald Trump could not distinguish between front channeling and back channeling. Of course, Donald Trump should have problems of his own. His meltdown with Elon Musk is now both the stuff of horror and headlines. Musk is saying that Trump is named in sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's files, and therefore these files have not been made public. And Trump is hitting back, saying the best way to save money is to cut down Musk's subsidies that he gets from the American administration. So Donald Trump there really in no position to lecture India, but how do we look at the Prime Minister's comments made from Jammu and Kashmir, his first trip to the state or the Union Territory, the erstwhile state, maybe soon to be a state again, since Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor. Let me introduce our guests on the program today as we decode the Prime Minister's comments made from the Chenab Bridge. Padma Rao, senior journalist, is with us. Good to have you back with us, Padma. Veteran diplomat Ambassador Prabhu Dayal is with us. Good to see you again, sir. And military veteran General Sharma is with us. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Let me start by playing out the Prime Minister's comments where he described Operation Sindoor to be a Qayamat ki Raat for Pakistan.
साथियों, आज 6 जून है. याद कीजिए, 1 महीने पहले, ठीक 1 महीने पहले, 6 मई की वो रात पाकिस्तान के आतंकियों पर कयामत बरसी थी. अब पाकिस्तान कभी भी ऑपरेशन सिंदूर का नाम सुनेगा तो उसे अपनी शर्मनाक शिकस्त याद आएगी. पाकिस्तानी फौज और आतंकियों ने कभी सोचा नहीं था कि भारत पाकिस्तान में सैकड़ों किलोमीटर अंदर जाकर के आतंकवादियों पर इस तरह वार करेगा.
All right, we'll come to Trump in a moment, but those are the images of the Prime Minister there with the Tiranga on that bridge that has been inaugurated. His first trip to J&K since the Pahalgam terror attack, as well as Operation Sindoor. Let's get comments first on the Prime Minister, the symbolism of this moment, the speech. General Sharma, I'll start with you.
Now, let me put it that this is indeed a great bridge, and we've seen it come through for quite some years. Uh, and I mean, once you see development, you have a heart full of pride as to what the kind of bridge that they have made. And at earlier times, about 25 years ago, we couldn't even imagine Katra Srinagar rail link. It used to be such a Herculean effort. So, symbolism apart, this is one magnificent achievement that India has achieved today of having a rail line connecting right up to Srinagar, and hopefully the way it is going, it go across to Leh one day, and there will be seamless connectivity across there. So I feel full of pride today of this magnificent achievement. And
Uh,
Prime Minister, sir, yeah,
no, I
Barkha.
was just saying that the bridge is great, of course. It's the world's highest railway bridge that has been inaugurated, but it is the integration and the linkages that are really significant. So, if you could explain the importance to those who may not be familiar with Jammu and Kashmir.
So the Jammu and Kashmir two regions are disconnected by the Peer Panjal range, and to get it through the tunnels across the Peer Panjal range wasn't simple. And every year we used to be stuck at Ramban and Banihal for landslides, and there were big problems across there. So there was a differentiation here between Jammu and this connectivity at least helps us out here. But that apart, Prime Minister's other speeches about insaniyat and Kashmiriyat, which the Pakistanis lacked today, which he mentioned today in his speech, which is a fact of life. Those images of Pahalgam are indelible in memory. You just cannot, and they've been carried worldwide. So you feel the emotion behind the whole nation rallied into what happened at Pahalgam on that fateful day, and what we did on 6th, 7th night, and what we did on 10th morning. I think Pakistan won't be able to forget for a very long time what happened on 10th. As the images are coming across today, and every day the images are coming across here, the underground infrastructure which has been damaged, and the
Mhm.
infrastructure which they could not even retrieve people who are working in the underground things, and they have been entombed inside. We have to put a cement to close it because it's been the kind of damage done, which speaks volumes of our kind of the targeting details that we had and what we did. So what Bahawalpur and Muridke, and of course the 13 sites that we hit on 10th morning, I think Pakistan would. I mean, I won't say they've been deterred, but I'll say they will remember it for a long time that we have the capacity, and also say that what they've been talking about strategic depth in their lives all along, they know that one, there is no depth availability today. They can be hit in any part of their countryside. And while this thing was on, they also had on their back in Balochistan the issues already continually happening, even in Gwadar in the same period. So, I mean, Pakistan is in trouble on this one, and also on the IWT front. As you see Riyasi, you see this bridge. You also remember that this Chenab River, this massive Chenab River, for which we are now working to this end to do some kind of diversions which can benefit the people of Jammu as also the people down south towards Pathankot. And as that happens, that will starve northern Punjab. Of the three rivers that we talk about, Chenab is the most important in this manner because it supplies water to northern Punjab. It's not the river alone. It's the canals that they take off from Chenab, which connect across to Ravi and they connect across to Satluj. And so the water of Chenab actually flows all the way down to Satluj River, right up to Fort Abbas. So, the kind of starvation on this one, the threat of Chenab being diverted must be the biggest threat the Pakistan must be feeling today.
Yeah, I think so much symbolism there, and it's interesting that you bring up what happened on the 10th of May. There are air war experts like Tom Cooper who believe that Pakistan was not an operational nuclear power on 10th of May because the gates to the underground storage facilities, nuclear storage facilities, were actually hit by India. So that's a really important point that you made. But Ambassador Dayal, there's almost a sort of what should I call it? A kind of disconnect between the unequivocal military triumphs and Donald Trump droning on and on and on. I'm going to play out his latest statement. And the bizarre thing is, this is coming on a day when he should actually have been paying attention to his own problems because, someone who was one of his closest aides is now targeting him directly. I'm going to play out Trump's statement and then I'm going to ask you how you see both the Prime Minister's comments from Jammu at the Chinab, as well as Trump's insistence, almost obsessive insistence, on his own role, as he claims it, in this conflict. Take a look.
With India and Pakistan, I was able to stop that. And those are nuclear powers. And that was getting close to being out of hand. And I spoke to some very talented people on both sides, very good people on both sides. And I said, we're dealing with you on trade, Pakistan and India right now. I said, we're not going to deal with you on trade if you're going to go shooting each other and whipping out nuclear weapons that maybe even affect us. Because, that nuclear dust blows across oceans very quickly. It affects us. And I said, if you're going to do that, we're not going to do any trade deals. And you know what? I got that war stopped. Now, I hope we don't go back and we find out that they started, but I don't think they will. They were both good. They were well represented. I want to congratulate both countries because, as you know, the leader of India, who's a great guy, was here a few weeks ago. We had some great talks. We're doing a trade deal. And Pakistan, likewise. They have very, very strong leadership. Some people won't like when I say that, but, it is what it is. And they stopped that war. Now, am I going to get credit? I'm not going to get credit for anything. They don't give me credit for anything, but nobody else could have done it. I stopped it. I was very proud of that. I wish we could do the same thing with Ukraine and Russia.
So, Ambassador Dayal, here's the question for you. Manish Tiwari, who's a Congress MP who was part of these delegations, yesterday on this program, he was saying Trump doesn't understand the difference between back channeling and front channeling. And in any crisis, there are always world leaders who are calling. Doesn't mean anything. But he seems to have become obsessed with this narrative. And now you have a key aide to Vladimir Putin, who's also repeating this narrative. And it is totally at odds with the very well-documented military wins that have been called the biggest wins for the Indian Armed Forces since 1971, the disabling of Pakistan, including hitting the gates to their underground nuclear storage facilities. And then you have this man. What do you make of it?
Well, Trump is not difficult to understand. Look, he has always tried to position himself and portray himself as the greatest peacemaker in history. And he has tried to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine and also between Israel and Hamas. In fact, during his campaign, he had categorically said that he would bring the Russia-Ukraine war to an end in 12 hours of taking over as president. And I think he made similar claims about the Israel-Hamas war. Now, he was not successful in brokering peace in these two situations. Here was a situation which gave him an opportunity to take credit. Of course, he was speaking to the Indian side. Of course, the Americans were also speaking to the Pakistanis. But that doesn't mean that he brokered the peace or that we agreed to the ceasefire because of Trump. We agreed to the ceasefire and we have made this repeatedly clear. We agreed to it because the Pakistani DGMO called our DGMO. In other words, we had brought the Pakistanis down on their knees and they begged for peace because they knew that what was happening was that they were getting severely mauled. If the war continued, it would be not in their interest. So they wanted the peace. So that is why we agreed, not because Trump wanted us to have the ceasefire. Now, as regards Putin making the statement that he feels, yes, Donald Trump played a big role in bringing about the ceasefire. Putin is having a difficult time with the Americans. On the one hand, he's being pushed into certain situations he doesn't want. He wants to have his way. But on the other hand, he cannot annoy the Americans. So this gives him an opportunity to say a few nice things about Donald Trump. I wouldn't take Putin's remarks very seriously. In fact, he made the mistake. He should have said, look, the equipment we gave to the Indians, the S-400 anti-missile air defense system, is what won them the conflict. Instead of taking the credit, he decided, very wrongly so, to side with Trump's remarks. But we all know that it is the Indian army which gave a solid bashing to the Pakistanis, and our Air Force was decisive. And in fact, the leadership of the government played a very decisive role in putting the all the force that we could muster and going for Pakistan hammer and tongs, and that's what made them capitulate. I may also add that it has been part of an overall policy, because Prime Minister had said that we would punish not just the terrorists, but the people who were behind it. And that surely was the entire Pakistan establishment. In this context, the putting in abeyance the Indus Waters Treaty is very significant, because it signaled to the Pakistani side that we will bring a lot of difficulties for them. We haven't cancelled the treaty, we haven't abrogated it, but the sheer putting into abeyance is something
Yes.
that has made the
To,
Pakistanis
to,
very, very.
to that extent, the symbolism, and General Sharma also pointed this out, of the inauguration of the bridge over the Chenab River becomes even more important, because it is a critical river in the Indus Water Treaty Agreement, which is now held in abeyance. But there's a lot of debate over messaging, over whether our otherwise effective united face that we have presented to the world is being broken with politics at home. Rahul Gandhi has quoted, just like Trump keeps quoting himself and repeating himself, Rahul Gandhi keeps quoting Trump, and he's done it again today. Let's play out that clip before we come to you, Padma.
उधर से ट्रंप ने एक इशारा किया, फोन उठाया, कहा मोदी जी क्या कर रहे हो? नरेंद्र सरेंडर, और जी हजूर करके नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने ट्रंप के इशारे का पालन किया। ट्रंप साहब ने 11 बार बोला है, 11 बार, कि मैंने नरेंद्र मोदी को सरेंडर करवा दिया। 11 बार बोला है पब्लिक में। नरेंद्र मोदी जी चू नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी ये नहीं बोल पा रहे हैं कि ये जो ट्रंप है ये झूठ बोल रहा है, क्योंकि वो सच्चाई है।
Right. So, Padma, let's bring you in. You see, on the one hand, there is all the parties standing together in these cross-party delegations. For the Congress MPs in particular, it has become a very unique and prickly situation. I asked Manish Tiwari yesterday, are you at odds with your own party? And he said, when I was in these delegations, I just ignored, quote unquote, the noise at home. So he was talking about his own party's comments being noise. Shashi Tharoor, who's still in the United States of America, is being daily asked about his own party's positions. These comments are being picked up across the border. But Trump is providing this fodder and Rahul Gandhi is wading in. How do you see what's happening, and also juxtaposing it with Modi's first visit to Jammu and Kashmir since Pahalgam?
So I'll go in order of sequence. Rahul Gandhi's, comments which you played out just now. I mean, I think it's quite absurd. He keeps asking for proof of this, proof of that, proof that that India. The thing is, what proof is he providing that President Trump called India first, and Narendra surrendered, as he says. That's number one. Number two, since you speak of this political, you speak of the unity displayed by all parties when they went overseas, and some of them are indeed still overseas. In fact, this is the political significance of this project. I think it may have lent impetus. The completion of the bridge, and given that unity, no matter how fragile that unity is over the Pahalgam attack, this ought to have been accepted by all. Indeed, I'm tempted to say, echo the words of Elon Musk himself, to whom I will come in a minute, that perhaps this has shown us the need and space for a third political party, a more centered political party, because we saw how well this unity actually worked and how well they coalesced together. Now, coming to the Prime Minister's remarks, I agree with the other two gentlemen. I agree with General Sharma and with the Ambassador Dayal. I see yet another significance in the PM's remarks. I think that this bridge is pretty much the consolidation of the abrogation of Article 370. The rail link between Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of India. With this, we have a road link, we have air links. Now the circle is complete, and I see this as Jammu and Kashmir being finally a fully integrated part of the Republic of India. Then, of course, there is the symbolism, as General pointed out, of the remark coming so close on the heels of Operation Sindoor. Now coming to Trump and your question about Trump, his whole rise to power, Barkha, and his victory back into the Oval Office was and is, I think, an embodiment of money and power coalescing into one individual who holds the most powerful office in the world. Now, the standoff with Elon Musk is an embodiment of the clash of big money and big power. The world's richest man and the world's most powerful man facing off. And what's worse is, for poor President Trump, when the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz was there, he also presented him the birth certificate of his own, of the president's own grandfather, Friedrich Drumpf, who was born in Germany. So it was, a very subtle indicator of how Trump himself, for all the noise that's being made over migrants, as is indeed a migrant himself, as all Americans are. So I think poor President Trump has had a bad hair day overall, but I have absolutely no doubt that he will bounce back in full force. And to this unity that we saw, I really, really feel I was very, very when I saw Elon Musk's poll that he put out on X today on how many Americans feel they feel the need for a third political space, a centered political space. I think that it dawned on me that there seems to be very much space. There seems to be very much space for that kind of political entity, even in India, and it could well come about if we continue to hold that unity, as has been seen, on the heels of the Pahalgam attack.
So thanks, Padma. General Sharma, is this a good moment to restore statehood? I'm introducing a new thought in this conversation, because I was struck by the fact that in Prime Minister's speech today, he spoke about the insaniyat and the Kashmiriyat of Kashmir that Pahalgam terror attack had actually targeted. And the subtext of that is Pakistan, who claims to speak for the people of the Kashmir Valley, actually doesn't care about them at all, because the Pahalgam terror attack has hurt the people of Jammu and Kashmir. He speaks about this bridge as a metaphor for the integration, the complete integration of the Kashmir Valley and the state, or the erstwhile state, of Jammu and Kashmir. It occurs to me that this might be the moment, the interesting context to restore statehood. Because who will criticize it? Nobody. Everybody will welcome it except Pakistan.
So, Barkha, you raised an important issue. And I'll take my personal view on this one. Look, what is the advantage of not having statehood today? For example, I put the other way around.
Yeah.
In 2000, 2001, 2002, we had 4,000 to 3,000 casualties per year. That was the years that you remember, you were covering those years. That in the last year, 2024, we had 63 terrorists killed. This year, till this time now, which we talked about yesterday, today, we have 25 terrorists killed. Now, it's a question of law and order alone. And you say law and order alone is an issue which, if the center has got the statehood, among other issues, the law and order is handled by the center, and that becomes an issue so that they can pursue it and put additional troops or withdraw troops. There is management is easier. Personally, I would feel that in continuation to Op Sindoor, and I'm putting it in metaphorically terms and not in military terms, it may be right as another affront across towards Pakistan to create a state now. Whether it comes today, it comes in next 1 month, next session, because it has to be passed by the parliament. So it will add on to the momentum that we have created over a period of time to say, okay, we are not even anxious about one terrorist act. As it is, we are declared terror is equal to war. But that apart, would the state government be able to handle a security situation of this kind as it's emanating in these years of last 3 to 4 years? last year 127 total people killed, then 150. That's a larger number that we are following. I think the state government now that doesn't have the encumbrance of having Ladakh as a massive territory and the Chinese border and the glacier and Kargil areas on them should be able to grasp the issue of handling law and order also as much as the state government as the central government would do. And earlier, I think it would be the better. It would be also adding on to telling the Pakistan, look, don't worry, we have the thing in the control and it's an answer across to there. So my personal view, it's a good idea. Let me add one line about President Trump, which you mentioned. So it has been said 11 times. He said he brought about peace. He will say another 1,000 times in the course of his balance of tenure. Will we keep rebutting him? Will we keep saying no, he didn't do it? I mean, let it be. There is dramatis personae. There is drama in this whole thing. And as Padma ma'am has said, bad hair days, you will have bad hair days continuously for balance of the tenure. So we can't keep getting hairdressers around here. So I think we should take it that he will keep saying it the way he has been saying it, and it will be easier to leave it away. I mean, let it be said in the way it has been said. We have conveyed a feeling that we did it thanks to the kind of begging that they have done. And today the news item that they've written a number of letters to us, Pakistan, consequent to Sindoor, on various issues to start talking, etc. Finally, they understand that unki dukti rag hamare haath mein hai, the jugular vein, with that fellow said, now he's missing the jugular vein of his.
Yeah, absolutely. But Ambassador Dayal, would you be as unconcerned? I guess the question is, can Trump be ignored? What? And I take General Sharma's point that वो तो बोलता ही जाएगा, and he is going to keep saying it. He is going to keep saying it because it suits his narrative about himself. Do you think it has zero consequence on the Indo-US relationship, or the larger concern of the rehyphenation in Western media, in Western commentary? He says India's leader is a great guy. Then in the next sentence, he says Pakistan's leaders are also great people. I mean, it's loopy, but he's the American president.
The problem is that Trump wants to portray himself as somebody who can mediate between different countries. And he has made it very clear. He has sent signals to both India and Pakistan. He wants to mediate in the dispute. Now, we have made it very clear that any dispute between India and Pakistan will be settled bilaterally in terms of the Simla Agreement. We are against internationalizing any dispute with Pakistan. Now, that is why we had to set the record straight, because when Trump was claiming that he mediated, it was as if he had been able to play a role because the dispute had been internationalized. So setting the record straight becomes...
But how many times? How many times?
Right. So we have made it clear, but I think now we are not again and again rebutting what he's saying. Putin has said that Trump played a role. I don't think we are going to be rebutting that. This is to the best of my understanding. But nonetheless, let me make it very clear that the mischievous role which the United States can play is very evident. And unfortunately, if you look at the history of the trilateral relationship, US-Pakistan, US-India and India-Pakistan, you will find that the United States has always played a mischievous role. Now, Trump has some financial investments in Pakistan. It is now widely reported that there is a cryptocurrency company, Bitcoin company, in which his family has the shareholdings, the majority shareholdings. And if you look at that company's website, you find the Trumps are in positions of authority. And that company is playing a very dangerous role because it is trying to covet the Pakistani market, and for whatever reasons. Now, if Trump develops financial interest in Pakistan, as he is doing, that is perhaps going to draw him closer to Pakistan and doesn't augur very well. I can see all this happening. In fact, This is being widely reported also. Why
Yeah,
suddenly Trump, who had said that Pakistan was a bad country, he had said in his first tweet of 2018, in
yeah.
January 2018, that we gave Pakistan billions of dollars in aid, and in return they gave us only lies and deceit. He's forgotten what he said. So now he's cozying up to Pakistan. He's called the leader of Pakistan great, and he has called Pakistan a great country, forgetting the mischievous role that the Pakistanis have played in the context of global terrorism. He's forgotten that Osama bin Laden had been given shelter in Pakistan and was living a mile away from the military academy of Pakistan, which is in Abbottabad. So
Yeah.
all this shows that he's taking a very short-term view of things, and that is what makes the situation dangerous. His financial interests seem to be overriding what the
So,
global situation is, what the global interests are, and perhaps also what America's real interests in this region
so,
are.
so,
So that is what is a cause of worry.
so, so,
The
Padma, these
Pakistan.
are, yeah, got it, sir. Padma, these are two slightly varying views, not fundamentally varying, but slightly varying. I think General Sharma takes the view that just ignore this guy. You've rebutted it. There's nothing more you can do. He is a theatrical performer. He's going to keep saying this because he likes the natak, the drama that comes with it. You can't, as India, get sucked up in that. Ambassador Dayal says there could be very real short-term consequences in terms of discourse. We should also remember Pakistan's just got, the chair of a sort of major committee, at the UN, and there is opportunity for Pakistan to make provocative noise. Maybe not do much more, but make provocative noise. And we're going to have to figure out: do we ignore it, react to it? What do we do? And it brings us back to messaging.
Sure. I'll take a very different view. I'll strike a third different view actually, which combines both of what the gentleman said. I see a method to what seems to be President Trump's madness. I've said this before on your show, and I also don't see Pakistan being named in the security in the United Nations as the chair of this body as anything unusual or new. As far as the United Nations is concerned, it is an outdated world body. I think we should forget it altogether. We should forget it. It's hardly barely functional, and it is based entirely on political interests and geostrategic interests. And I think even this refusal, and by the way, this refusal is not just restricted to President Trump. It is restricted. It is all over the Western world. All his NATO partners, all the major countries of the EU, they have all remained silent over Pakistan's complicity in terrorism, and especially after the Pahalgam attack. And they have all raised some of the most absurd questions, questioning India's Operation Sindoor, etc., as we all know. Now, why have they done that? I see the reason as being a lingering interest in Afghanistan, for which they need Pakistan, for various reasons, which we've already named, for getting back to getting into a geopolitical strategic presence, getting that back there, the Bagram air base, the weapons that proliferated after that, and also minerals and rare earths in Afghanistan, which the Chinese have their eye on. I think this is the main reason why the Western powers are silent on Pakistan. Now, back to President Trump. I think that Trump is anxious to show that his way of dealing with the public policy and with the world is inherently different to his predecessors. To the so-called sophisticated Georgetown gang, a lot like Prime Minister Modi's disdain for the Khan market crowd or the Lutyens gangs. The rest is largely domestic politics. But for me, what will be most interesting to see is what repercussions this face-off with Elon Musk, but as well as all the stuff that he's been saying, President Trump has been saying, what will it hold for the rest of the world, for many of the other policies that he's announced, like tariffs, which incidentally were either backed by Elon Musk, or he simply remained silent, much like the question that he's now raising about Trump's name being on this ex-offender Epstein's list of clients and friends. Then one does wonder why Elon Musk remains silent, and that doesn't really place him in a very good light. So I really see a method to President Trump's madness. I think he's all there. I think he's intentionally provocative, and he's intentionally different from everybody else. And and I think he pretty much attains his goal with by being provocative.
So let's get into last comments. I'll start with you, Ambassador Dayal. there's been a lot of debate over the effectiveness of the cross-party delegations beyond presenting a united front. That we are dealing with actually very, very sort of set or preset or preconceived opinions in the West. And while they may not take Trump's rhetoric very seriously, they still see this as a dispute and not through the lens of terrorism. Is that a concern that India should have, or should we just say, as so many of us have said, that look, every country out for themselves, you grow your economy, you become so powerful that you can, and I think we're already on the way to that you do it your way, because we're not going to do it anyone else's way.
Well, you're absolutely right. When it comes to these issues, we have to go it alone. In fact, what we have learned the hard way is that a lot of countries may give vocal support, but nothing more than that. So when it comes to dealing with our key problems and our key enemies, certainly Pakistan and China, we are in it alone. Now, let me also draw your attention to a few important things. One should never underestimate the enemy. Just as our delegation did a very good job, there is a Pakistani delegation, we all know, which is up to some mischief. First of all, they're playing a victim card. That India has not given any proof that Pakistan was involved in the Pahalgam attack. They are also trying to say that India attacked civilian targets, that these were not terrorist sites which were attacked on the night of 6th May, but these were civilian targets. Then they are trying to make a lot of hue and cry about how India has abrogated the Indus Waters Treaty. Now, these are just some of the things we have to be careful about sensitizing the countries where the Pakistani delegations are going. It's not a one-time exercise. Our diplomatic establishments, the foreign ministry and the missions, have to be in a state of perpetual alertness in trying to engage the countries which are important. Now, there are some adverse consequences which have already happened. On the 12th of May, the IMF gave Pakistan that $1 billion loan, which it should never have. Because frankly speaking, there are questions within the IMF itself as to how Pakistan misuses the funds given to it. And then to make things worse, the World Bank has given a $40 billion loan spread out over a considerable period. But how has this happened? In both these organizations, the United States is a key player. And the United States is helping Pakistan in a manner which is really not good, because instead of putting Pakistan on the FATF grey list, which would hold back financing, the United States is actually facilitating the flow of money to Pakistan. And where will that money go? A lot of it will be misused. And certainly the army will suck away some of the money and use it for terrorism. So the fact of the matter is that the policies of the United States are leaving more questions than they are giving us answers. And India has to be on the lookout.
And you're saying, unlike General Sharma, that it can't just be ignored.
No, well, because we can't ignore the deeds of the United States, the misdeeds, because these are impacting us very directly. I'm not so much bothered about this conflict between Trump and Elon Musk. That's their internal matter. There'll be some washing of dirty linen in public. But what I'm worried about is how Trump's policies are ending up strengthening Pakistan, and that only goes against our own interests. And
so this is an important question, that Trump is not just rhetorical. What he's saying is emboldening Pakistan. And I do want General Sharma and Padma both to respond to it. But on a lighter note, Shashi Tharoor, who's actually literally become the predominant face of many of the messaging, much of the messaging, especially in the United States of America, he was asked today that are people asking for evidence, right? And this question was posed to him by his son. So I'm just going to play out this clip, and then we'll come right back.
You have to stand up. That shouldn't be allowed. This is my son.
Ishan Tharoor of the Washington Post. Definitely asking a question in personal capacity. And mostly to say hi before you go off to your next engagement.
Raise the mic.
Mostly to say hi before you go off to your next engagement. I'm curious, though, on this tour you've been on, various countries in the Western Hemisphere, have any of your government interlocutors asked you to show evidence of Pakistan's culpability in the initial attack? And what do you say to the repeated Pakistani denials of having any hand in the initial attack?
Okay, well, I'm very glad you raised this, Ishan. I didn't plant it, I promise you. This guy does this to his dad. Very simply, no one had any doubt, and we were not asked for evidence. But
so, it's a funny moment, but it's also an important moment because he's saying that nobody asked us for evidence. People know. So, Padma, before I give General Sharma the last word, you have two completely different perspectives. Ambassador Dayal saying Trump's rhetoric is emboldening Pakistan. General Sharma saying, listen, ignore this guy, hunker down, do your own thing, strengthen our military, prepare better, grow your economy, get on with your life. Right? Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with General Sharma, although I can see where Ambassador Dayal is coming from. Look, I think India should carry on regardless of all the tugs and pulls in different directions, vis-a-vis China, vis-a-vis Russia, vis-a-vis the United States, specifically now vis-a-vis the United States. I think India should forge new alliances and protect its own interests in any of these, many Indo-Pacific alliances that are sprouting up, which are aimed and targeted at China. India should continue to talk and conduct negotiations with partners of its own choice, irrespective of what Western powers say. And we've always done this, and we should continue to do so. And I think India should continue to, irrespective and irrelevant, what Pakistan says or does is irrelevant, as Shashi Tharoor himself very, very pointedly said the other day. He said we're not even remotely interested in what kind of course Pakistan chooses to steer, whether it wants to remain a hotbed of terrorist activity or whether it wants progress for its people. India should continue to steer this very firm course on terrorism out of Pakistan. Zero tolerance, which we've just introduced, great move. It should now firmly be adhered to. Strike each time Pakistan-based terrorists do. That's it, period. No compromise, no negotiation.
So let me give the last word to General Sharma on that. Is that the template? Is that the... Sorry, I think I can see Ambassador Dayal waving his hand to make an interjection. Are you trying to say something, Ambassador Dayal?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You will recall that I said that when it comes to Pakistan and China, which are our key enemies, we are on our own. We have to fight them on our own. I said it very categorically. We have to develop our strengths. We have to develop everything possible. But we are on our own because all these countries are not going to come to our assistance. However, I also said that Trump's policies are such that they are indirectly helping Pakistan.
Got it.
And why he is doing so is open to question, because this is somebody who had said that Pakistan had been given billions of dollars in aid, and in return they gave
I see what you're saying. Let me just bring in General Sharma. Padma, I'll take a quick word from you right after that. General Sharma, a couple of questions there, right? I think I agree with both things that Ambassador Dayal just said. We're on our own, but Pakistan is drawing a certain sort of satisfaction from the way that Trump is talking. It is emboldening them. And, I wonder now, and as you mentioned, I've literally cut my teeth as a reporter out of Jammu and Kashmir. Are we now looking at a long, prolonged period of conflict? We have set a template. You try and do this to us, we will do this to you. That said, even Manish, as an opposition MP on these delegations, raises an interesting point about the effectiveness of conventional responses to asymmetric warfare. You see, terrorists are not militaries, right? And Operation Sindoor was India reacting to terror bases and then retaliating against the Pakistani military. Tomorrow they try and do another Pahalgam. And these terrorists are anyway radicalized jihadists who are coming in, not rational entities like a military is. Is the template now that we will hit every time you try and do this? What is the template now? Where are we going from here?
Okay, there are about 100 questions that you asked now. Okay. Let me put it my way. See, I take it that Pakistan has been transactional with with United States from 50s onwards. They have managed a transactional relationship, whether it was CETO, CENTO, or allowing Kissinger to go to China, or whichever which way, they have actually managed the transactional relationship with the United States superbly, and their interaction with the Americans has been incessant. And sometimes they used to say that you Indians don't understand America. We've been involved with the United States for 50s onwards. You have learned later on in life. So now the biggest transactional leader the United States has got in life is now President Trump, where everything is a bottom line. Everything is a relationship maintained is on base of transaction, which the Pakistan is able to provide today to United States, and that becomes an advantage. Also in rare earths, Chinese have been extracting rare earths from Gilgit-Baltistan for last 5-6 years, and they've been 22,000 mining interests they've got inside Gilgit-Baltistan. And now there is Balochistan also, where there are rare earths available. So and of course China, Afghanistan. So United States wants to take on this transactional web. We, India, have to decide a blank slate saying what are our national interests as far as the United States is concerned. What is the give and take possible? Our relationship has to be give and take, because the United States doesn't understand anything other than transactions. And we'll have to now start thinking which are the transactions that they are dealing. Second point I wish to raise is that what question Mr. Tharoor's son had asked. Look, frankly speaking, if you ask the people the countries of the world may be with us or may not be with us. But when we say Pahalgam was initiated by Pakistan, that attributability to Pakistan is relied upon in the world. They say, ye ho sakta hai, ye possible hai, inhone kiya ho. When Pakistan says Jafar Express was done by Raw, people take it with a pinch of salt. No. They don't believe it in that India would have done it. So there is a attributability which comes, whether people say it or not say it, and in private conversation they'll say so. Now the third and last point which I wish to raise is this issue of conventional versus sub-conventional. A lot of time this terminology of hybrid warfare came in, where they say that there is no differentiation left between hybrid and sub-conventional. We have proven it, that for any sub-conventional or act of irregular warfare that this terrorism is concerned, we will respond conventionally. Even if we responded unconventionally now, initial strikes that we did was those 9 targets, 7 by the army in POK and 2 in Punjab, by Air Force in Punjab. They were terrorist target, which was terrorism against terrorism. But Pakistan responded back to us in a conventional manner.
That's right.
By targeting our aircraft and our
absolutely. But tomorrow they may send in another group of terrorists, which is back to asymmetric.
So it will happen. It may happen tomorrow after 4 years. It will happen one day that they will do so. This true terrorist business which is continuing is what we can handle, and I'm sure state government can also handle that kind of security. A larger act of the kind like Parliament or Mumbai or Uri, well, that requires a response, for which I think we have made a commitment by the Prime Minister saying that we will take it an act of terror. That act of terror has to be redefined as to what is act of these routine. And I will say that Pakistan retains the capacity to have the tap in their hand to increase and decrease. It's the kind of power they have. So they will actually enhance it when they wish to enhance it. And when they get back, comes to the wall, they have trouble in their own country, they will enhance the terrorism to bring ultra-nationalism there.
I was going to close, but Padma, you wanted to just come in briefly?
Yeah, I was waiting for my closing remarks. Barkha, it's interesting that you said Trump's utterances are emboldening Pakistan, whereas Ambassador Dayal said Trump's rhetoric is helping Pakistan. So this is not a confrontational stance vis-a-vis Ambassador Dayal, in fact, but a genuine question I'd like to learn from his expertise. In terms of how is Trump's rhetoric actually helping Pakistan in real terms? Because in terms of economic ties, India would be of far greater significance than Pakistan. In what terms then? If you mean in military terms, how? Do you envisage that Trump will sell more weapons or even gift more weapons to Pakistan? So I'd be curious to learn from your vast diplomatic experience.
Fair question.
How do you see that coming? Yeah.
Ambassador?
In the 80s. And I found that the United States treated Pakistan as a country which could be useful to it. And that is why Pakistan was termed a strategic ally. Now, what is the United States doing vis-a-vis Pakistan today? It is helping Pakistan financially. And frankly speaking, with the state of the Pakistani economy being what it is in total shambles. Money is something that the Pakistanis need.
Okay.
But you have to give that money to them, but only when you impose conditions and bring them on the right track. Because if they are out and out a terrorist state and you continue to give them financial aid, then they will misuse it as they have been doing earlier. And which country gets hurt the most? Everybody thinks, well, it's India's problem. But the fact of the matter is that everybody gets hurt. They forget what happened to Daniel Pearl. They forget that the Lashkar-e-Taiba masterminded the Mumbai terror attack in which Americans also died. So the global aspect of Pakistani terrorism is something that we need to re-emphasize to the Americans, because Trump is having some sort of a utility type of issue in his mind. He thinks that Pakistan is being very useful to him, perhaps for the Bitcoin company.
I will have to end here, but with just a thought, leaving all three of you with a thought and our audience with a thought. You know, we were all shaped by this cliche that a stable Pakistan is in India's interest. A cohesive Pakistan is India's interest. I have begun to question that assumption. I have begun to challenge that assumption in my own mind, because a cohesive, stable Pakistan will continue to use terrorism as an instrument against India, where the only country inflicting penalty on Pakistan for doing so is also India. So just a thought to leave you with, the conversation for another time. Thank you so much, Padma Rao, General Sharma, and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal. Always a pleasure. And to our audience, thank you. See you tomorrow. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.